My name is Peggy Bartunik. I'm making this video for musicians who are playing the Rodgers Inspire 233 two-manual organ. It's a general overview of everything that's on the organ, and it is for people who are either brand new to the instrument or who have had it for a while and just want to refresh, or maybe somebody new has come to your church and you want to give them a quick overview of the instrument. Then they can just watch the video. When you come to the organ, it is often closed and locked. The key is inserted over here. When you open the organ, the power switch is over here. Press the top of the power switch. Lights will come on here and down on the pedals. The window says Rodgers, and almost immediately it now says M01 and it's ready to go. I'll explain this window in more detail later. This section here is how the stops are turned on and off, and these are divisions. This group here is the pedal division, and these stops turn on or off the sounds for the pedal. This section from here all the way to over to here is the swell division, and the swell division is the top keyboard. These over here affect the grate, and this is the grate division. Stops are turned on by pressing the bottom of the stop, and you'll see that the whole tab lights, which is great because you can see, I'll just press a bunch, you can easily see what stops you have on. You can turn them off by pressing the top, but a quicker way to do it is way over here on the right-hand side. This 0 is called the cancel piston. So I'll press this and you'll notice that they'll all turn off. The window, when the organ turns on, says M01, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but these rectangles here are very important. These are a visual of the status of the expression shoes. When I say expression shoes, I'm talking, some people call them the volume pedals. It's how you make the sounds louder or softer. So I'll just put on pretty good sized sound here. Right now, it's not going to be very loud because the shoes are what is called closed. It's like if you had shades over pipes. When the shades are closed, the sound is quieter. When they're open, the sound is louder. So if we put the expression shoe all the way down, it's called open. If we put it all the way up at its quietest, it's called closed. This visual shows you, if I move the left expression shoe, it's controlling the grate and the pedal. And watch what happens as I play a chord. I'm going to start with it completely closed, and as I move it, not only does it get louder, it also gets brighter. The same idea of when you have shades over pipes, or I'll use my mouth as an example. If I am talking like this, not only is that softer, as I open it up, it becomes brighter too. So you get louder and brighter. You get all the overtones. The one on the left, as I said, controls the volume for the grate manual and the pedal. The one on the right controls the volume for the swell manual. The polite thing to do when you leave the organ is to have the shoes completely closed. And the reason is that if the next person comes and wants to play something that's really quiet and hasn't checked the status of the expression shoes, you might be surprised by it being too loud. So the polite thing is to just leave them closed. Right here where it says M01, it's talking about memory levels. Well, the organ has 50 memory levels. What does that mean? To understand memory levels, we have to understand pistons. All of these white round buttons are called pistons. The ones over on the left-hand side here that are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, these are called general pistons. They're called that because they affect generally the whole organ. So for example, if I press number 7, you're going to see a lot of lights come on the pedal, the swell, and the grate. Now I'll do number 1. 1, I didn't have much going on at all, so I had something kind of quiet, just a melody here. 9, I've got quite a bit of things going on. Okay, so these are general pistons and they affect the whole organ. I'm going to go back to general number 1. I've got something quiet in the grate. I'm going to increase the volume up. So I've got kind of a nice melody going on here in the swell. If I press any one of these are called divisional pistons. Just because we said pedal division, swell division, grate division, these 5 pistons, if I press one of these, they only affect the swell. Well, why would I want to do that? I love divisional pistons. So I'll go to number 1. I've got something kind of quiet going on here. I've got a nice little melody. If I want to change that melody, I could manually turn stops on, but I could save things right here in these divisionals and they're ready for me. So here's number 1, as I said it. If I press this, something else came on. Number 2, so the beauty of the divisional pistons is you can have something basic set for your pedal and your grate, and then just easily change sounds with a divisional piston. These affect the swell. You can also set grate divisional pistons. So then you could have something ready on the swell, on the pedal, and keep changing these for variety in your setting in the grate manual. Back to this MO1. It looks like you have 10 possibilities, 10 general pistons. And within that memory 1, you have 5 possibilities for here, 5 possibilities for here, and there are some toe pistons for the pedals that also can act as divisional pistons. If I press right here, you'll see M with a minus, M with a plus. When I press M with the plus, this is going to change from MO1 to MO2. These are 10 brand new generals, 5 brand new divisionals. Everything is like a brand new organ, all new settings. If I go to memory 3, brand new settings. The beauty of this is it serves a number of purposes, but one is for yourself. If you do a lot of literature where you like to preset, you can store things into different memory levels. So for example, you could have a lot of your Christmas music on a certain memory level. There's 50 memory levels. If you have multiple musicians, then you could say, let's leave number 1 for everybody so we know what it is. If we want to do general hymn playing, whatever, we know it's there. But you could assign different memory levels to other people. Going beyond those 50 memory levels, way over here is a USB port, and you can store the entire 50 memory levels onto a USB, and then you can have multiple USBs, so you could have really an infinite number of settings stored for the organ beyond the 50 that are here. Let's talk over here, the set. What the set is if I want to make my own settings, I'll just light up some sounds that I know that I'll like. I'll light them up and I'll test to make sure I like them. And let's say I like that and I want to save it. What I like to say is, while holding set, because you push and hold set, but I say, while holding set, press whichever piston you want to store it on. So I'm going to store this onto, right now I happen to be in memory 3. I'm going to go back to memory 1 because I know I don't want to cover up what I have there. I'm in memory 1. While holding set, if I press this number 1, it is now stored there. I'm going to prove that it can be different. So here's number 1, the way I just said it. Let's say I say, I'd rather also have this and maybe this. So I've got some other things. While holding set, press number 1. If I return back to that number 1, it's the way I just said it. It'll always be the last way that you said it, but you can decide if you want to change them yourself. Up here, it says organ type. What organ type is, each of these stops has a certain quality of sound. If I press the organ type, the window opens up and it gives me choices of that very stop having different quality of sound. So I had on this American Eclectic, I could make it the English Cathedral. Here's something I haven't talked about at all. Way over here, you've got these 4 black knobs, and they say menu or select. Underneath it, it says select, exit menu, value, volume, and reverb. For my purposes, what I like to say is the top left one, the top right one, because those are the ones we're going to use the most. The top left, the top right. So here we go, top left, top right. Back to the organ type. If I press organ type, right now it says American Eclectic. If I turn the top left knob, it's going to move this down to say English Cathedral. You hear the difference? I'm going to turn down to number 3, which is French Romantic. And then I'll turn to German Baroque. Now what that means is at any given time, let's go to this number 8. I've got this set with all these sounds, and it's whatever sound I set them into. It could be anything. But if I go to organ type and I want, we'll start where it started, which was on American Eclectic. This sounds. I'm going to change that to English Cathedral. French Romantic. And German Baroque. I'll start on that American Eclectic. Just listen to how quickly that changes. Down to English Cathedral. Right away. Over here are a few more pistons. This one says chimes, and the chimes are on the Great Manual. So if you want to quickly access them, they're on the Great Manual. A bass and melody piston, the bass piston is wonderful for people who don't know how to play pedals or are just learning how to play pedals. I have the pedals off because I wanted to get close to the organ, so I can't actually play the pedals. So it's a great time for me to show you about this bass. Let's pretend I can't play the pedals. So right now you're not hearing any pedals. If I light up this one that says bass, it is going to take anything that I have set in the bass stops and play it on the bottom pitch that I'm playing it at any given time. To exaggerate, I'll put on a big reed. I like to set up memory 1 for people who do play pedals, memory 2 for people who don't play pedals. So if they come, they can play standard hymns and they're just ready to play the pedals. Kind of the reverse of the bass is another wonderful piston called the melody. I'll go back to my memory 1, number 1, general number 1, and I played, let's go. I was playing a chord in my left hand, melody in my right hand. If I want to play that melody down on, play both hands on the Great Manual, but hear that melody, if I put on this piston, what it does is it takes anything that you have set in the swell and brings it down to the top pitch in the Great. So here we go. If I turn that off, you hear this. When it's on, you hear this. The hymn player, there's a whole video about the hymn player, so I won't go into great detail about this. But this is what accesses over 300 hymns for if you, the organist, aren't there, or let's say you want to go to communion and somebody's going to press play while you're at communion, you can do that. But it's got all of these in here. Also, you'll see it in the hymn player video, but if you want to go into the prelude function, right now it's in the hymn mode, I'm going to turn the top right knob, and it now says prelude. If I press play, it's just going to start playing. So you can go get your music ready, you can go do whatever you want to, and the organ will play. When it's done with this hymn, it's just going to go to another one. I'll press stop. Have to listen to the end of the phrase. This section here is for recording, and there will be a separate video, but you can record for a number of purposes. One would be to go out and listen to hear what you sound like, another evaluating yourself, but also if you're going to be gone, you can record and save things to USB and somebody else can play your play.